Oh my god. Yes, I wore a suit to the movie itself, so it's only appropriate I wear a suit for the review. Otherwise, are we really doing this right? It's not amateur hour here. After John Wick 3 Parabellum, John Wick is being chased by the High Table, he's broken continental rules, and now he's gotten his injuries, he's gone through that fight, and now he's going on the offense. He's recovered and he's ready to take it all down. He's going after the High Table and going after the Continental. He's gonna burn it all to the ground this time, and that is his goal in this movie. And from minute 1 of screen time to the end, I was completely enthralled with John Wick Chapter 4. This is one of the best, if not the best, action movie I've ever seen. Yeah, I don't think I'm exaggerating on that. This is just one of the greatest action movies I've ever watched in my life. I was so blown away from every single fight sequence in this movie, but not only that, I was blown away by how much this movie was able to retain character and keep us focused in the forefront with John Wick, but also expand and introduce new characters and new people, new settings, without ever losing focus on what the main plot is. I'm really amazed by the scope of this movie. John Wick Chapter 4 is definitely the biggest of the series, and it goes big. You're going to other continentals and other countries, you're going to the desert, you're going to different places over and over and over again, yet the movie never feels like it's slowing down or being bogged down by its runtime because of that. It never gets exhausting, to me at least. I thought this film had a great use of its pacing. It is almost 3 hours long. I didn't feel a single bit of that runtime, and that's because this film knows to keep it in the pocket and knows where to cut scenes. This movie knows exactly when to hit the refresh button on an action sequence. It knows when to change up its creativity and how a fight is going down, or just change the tempo and the speed of a moment of intensity. This movie goes from high-octane action, brutal, hit after hit, shot after shot, sword after sword, left, right, and it never stops. But on top of that, it knows when to slow down and build up tension and really go back to that feeling of John Wick 1 that I've been kind of missing, where you get the sense that we're building to a bigger sequence in the future, but you feel that tension building throughout, that somber tone of John Wick's loneliness that really feeds into what he's going through in this movie. I really enjoyed how this film didn't seem to lose sight of that. Any moment when John Wick's just able to be quiet, I think Keanu Reeves does a great job in carrying that. He does such a good job at just being the quiet observer of every situation, but his reactions just feel like so Keanu that he genuinely, no one else could do it like him. In this movie in particular, I really like his reactions with Donnie Yen and Mr. Nobody. Keanu Reeves really sells that he's tired of it all. This time, he is just a silent force of nature on a mission. He's gonna take down everyone he can in his sight. He just wants to be free, and he wants to get out. He dipped his toe in the pool of what his life was before, and now he has to get out of that. And I like that this series has been one continuous story about that. Let's get into the characters. This has easily my favorite characters of the John Wick series. Starting with Donnie Yen. This dude is incredible. He is blind, but he's able, in this realistic world I buy, that he's able to use his skills of hearing. He has ways of getting around certain scenarios. The way you see Donnie Yen's character creatively take dudes out in this movie is so interesting, and I love that the movie makes it a point and focuses on those details to show the advantages and disadvantages Donnie Yen's character has in those fight sequences. There's so much craftsmanship in every little sequence in this movie. So much attention to detail. So many stories are told through the fights of this movie. You can feel the history between John Wick's character and Donnie Yen's. But not only that, but you can feel the history between pretty much everyone in this movie, even Winston. Winston was fantastic in this, and this is the best I think we've seen him. Rest in peace, Lance Reddick, by the way. He was amazing in every single movie in this, and this one's no exception. Lance Reddick was awesome. I love his character, and the way he also interacts with Winston in this one, again, you feel like there was a history between them, and the actors really do a good job at selling that. The series is just so good at world building. You're able to gather so much information by just quick exchanges with people. There's been bad blood between a few assassins. There's been moments of tension between characters. All that history is felt when they re-meet up. That's where we really see a lot of, I think, Keanu Reeves' performance in this. I love that even though he started this whole crusade out of vengeance, he's so understanding about other people and their motivations. There's one point where, without spoilers, a character asked him, he's like, you know, I'm gonna come after you, right? Like, because of what you did, I am gonna, do that. And I love how John Wick is just like, I understand. I get it. You're justified. John Wick has always been that silent protagonist that says so much without saying so little. Keanu Reeves kills it in this movie, and, he's never been better as John Wick, in my opinion, in both the action and the acting and the emotional moments. There are some moments that got me kind of teary-eyed by the end, and I actually really like where the story concludes overall. I was very satisfied with where they took John Wick's character, and I really do give the movie praise for having the balls to do certain things. It really could have gone the easy route of franchise setup. That's one of my issues with Parabellum is I thought John Wick Chapter 3 was going to be the movie where we got all of the final conclusive stuff that we could get with the franchise. I thought it was going to be a crisp trilogy. So when 3 ended on a cliffhanger, I was really worried. I was like, okay, you guys are just franchising this. Dang it. I don't want another cinematic universe. I mean, yeah, we're getting that sort of with like the ballerina spinoff, but what I love about John Wick Chapter 4 is this film's made in a way where you could appreciate all the elements in this movie without having to see other stuff. It doesn't feel like it's forcing us to follow a side character that we didn't ask for to get a spinoff. This movie is really good at making us care about everyone involved in the world. That way, if we got some more later, it'd be some great icing on the cake. But we get our fill here. We get our full fill with this movie. What this movie does really well is knowing when to escalate and when to de-escalate. John Wick's always been really good at escalating the stakes, but I appreciate that Chapter 4, you still get really quiet sequences where John Wick and a few other characters are interacting with each other, and the dialogue between them is what increases the intensity until you get an explosion of that, and then it goes full-blown into action again. But what really works about that is no moment is treated as lesser than the other. I think some action movies can fall into that problem where because we're having a moment where just it's dialogue and setup for the next scene, it feels like sometimes the script doesn't really know what to do with the characters between action sequences, so it just kind of makes stuff up. Parabellum ran into that problem where every time John Wick talked to a new person, all they did was talk about how legendary John Wick is. It literally became every scene was John Wick! John Wick, the man himself, the legend. Oh, how can we help you? Oh, John Wick, the legend. How can we help you today? That was pretty much every little interaction, and it got repetitive, and it added to a bit of redundancy with Chapter 3, in my opinion, where Chapter 4 doesn't have that. There's differentiation in each scene. There's differentiation with the character. Bill Skarsgård, as the antagonist of this movie, is freaking incredible. And what I love about him is that he's that type of dude. He's so squirmy. You just want to punch him in the face because he has control of the situation, but he's kind of like the Riddler in the Batman Arkham series where he has all these goons and all these ways to stop you from getting to him, but the moment John Wick gets his hands on him, it's over. It's like, you just want to get to him and finish him off. And like, you feel that intensity by the end. I was really, really loving to hate Bill Skarsgård by the end of this movie. He was easily the best villain, I think, in this franchise. The way he goes toe-to-toe against John Wick verbally, he's able to really push his buttons without physical contact. And I think that's a really good villain, and that escalates the stakes. That takes a good villain to do that. On paper, the villain can read as generic, but with a performance from Skarsgård, he's able to elevate it and add a sense of authenticity and layers to him. You get the sense that this guy just loves the power, but he doesn't have any of the means to actually get up there. You feel like the high table has spoiled him. What's so interesting about that is that could easily make the villain less interesting and less intimidating, but here I didn't find that because the film still included moments where he gets the upper hand. Without spoilers, there's a great moment between him and a certain other character where he just takes control of the room in an instant when he feels like he's lost the power of the conversation. In that moment, it really sold me on him as a villain. What I love about John Wick Chapter 4 in particular is that it's able to go big and wide, but never lose sight of its characters in that process, and it never feels like it's going to the realm of Fast and Furious or something so unrealistic to the point where I'm rolling my eyes. There are moments, admittedly, where John Wick feels kind of invincible, admittedly, in this one. However, I think the film makes up for it with how you feel every impact. You're still able to feel the grit of the fight scenes. You're able to feel every punch. And that's what I think matters in moments where the realism can kind of dial back a bit. Because you have scenes in this movie where people are just fighting like in the middle of traffic or in the middle of a club. And people just aren't reacting, and it's kind of funny. But honestly, I can suspend my disbelief with that when the action scenes are helmed so well. And I can still feel every impact. And that's what matters the most to me. There are about 20-minute long sequences in this film that just keep escalating in terms of the fights, and people just keep coming in. But what's great is that there's so much variety and creativity in how John Wick takes each dude out that I didn't get tired of it. I never felt exhausted by it. That could have easily been a trap this movie ran into. However, for me, the way the action scenes escalate, along with the character stakes and the tension, they both feed each other really well, up and up and up. Every action sequence in this movie is able to really build up escalation, starting off of where you think it's gonna end, and I love how the movie will bring you to this heightened sense of intensity, hold you there, and then go, let's just notch it up a few more. And then you're like, oh, we're done. Okay, I'm feeling really tense. I'm feeling really tense. This has got to be the end of the fight scene. No, let's notch it up a little bit more. But again, I never felt lost in that sense. I never felt like I was losing the sight of the intensity. I never rolled my eyes about how annoying it is. And just at the right moments, this movie knows how to incorporate physical comedy as well. This is also the funniest John Wick movie, and I don't say that in a slight. I actually say it as a compliment. I think the writers and directors knew exactly what they were doing with certain moments in this movie where characters say, climb up a flight of stairs. And then they decided to play with some physical comedy involving the stairs. Like, stuff like that, without giving too much away, is brilliant. And I was rolling in my seat the entire time. I can keep talking about this movie for hours, genuinely. I don't have any flaws with this film. This is one of the best action movies I've ever seen in my life. I loved every second of it. John Wick, hands down, is one of the best action series of all time. There's so much to love about this movie. I'm kind of lost for words at how amazed I was by this movie. John Wick Chapter 4 reminds me why I love movies. John Wick 1, 2, and 3 hold a special place in my heart, and John Wick Chapter 4 is no exception. This is easily my favorite of the franchise by far. Other movies are now put on notice because of this. Like, this is the bar now. I need to see movies try to bring it here. I've been spoiled by John Wick 4. There was one shot in particular, it's one take. I started sweating, and I had to grab my friend's shoulder and just kind of hold him for a second, and we were both just in awe, staring at the screen, like, this is incredible. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. I just, when I see a movie, that reminds me why I love movies, and why I want to work in this field someday, I feel really inspired. To keep it real with you guys, I've been actually rather depressed these past few weeks, and just kind of feeling aimless in life. And this movie snapped me out of that for a bit. It's the first movie I've seen in a while that kind of helped my depression. I'm not exaggerating like that, but when a movie can do that and just remind me why I want to work in this industry and why I want to make movies myself one day, I can be really happy. I was so satisfied with John Wick Chapter 4. This is just one of the best movies I've seen. I loved it. It's my favorite movie of 2023 so far. Please go watch John Wick Chapter 4. It reminded me why I love movies. And you gotta see this in a theater. Don't watch this at home, for the love of God. Go see it in a theater. Please see this movie the way it's meant to be watched so we can get more films like this. This film ends in a way where I love it. I love how I can enjoy Chapter 4. If we got more spin-offs of this series, cool, but I'm so satisfied with this. This might be my favorite action franchise. We're 4 for 4, and I'm blown away. Everyone involved in this film deserves so much credit, and this is just one of those movies that I can go on and on and on about. I'm so happy right now. It's so freaking good. Go watch it.